Hey everybody, Rebecca here for the next episode of the Monday Mr. Money Mustache Motivation. If you haven't heard of him, Mr. Money Mustache is one of the most popular financial independence retire early bloggers, and since that is a huge life goal of mine, on Mondays I like to share a blog post of his so we can spread the word about financial independence and retire early, discuss what we think of the article down in the comment section below. If you'd like to learn more about Mr. Money Mustache, I will link to this article in the description box down below. That way you can go to his website and check him out. Today's article is from March 19th, 2014. This one's titled, Why You Should Get Your Shit Together Before You Make It Big. Think deeply about the true recipe for a good life. Tales of squandered success. Both Mr. Money Mustache's mailbox and the world at large are filled with them. Every day another pile of $250,000 earners collapses from stress or goes insane because they have managed to slip into an awful life of debt and time scarcity, despite the fact that they are living within a never-ending nuclear explosion of cash. And every day another corporate bigwig directs his legions to take the evil path in search of more money because he calculates that a lot of extra money is worth a small amount of evil. In my view, there's nothing wrong with kicking ass every day and reaching the top. In fact, for many of us, this is the most enjoyable use of our time. I love my job, therefore I never want to retire, and I can safely ignore the advice of Mr. Money Mustache, goes the common refrain. But the path of successful ass-kicking is a narrow one, which runs between two perilous chasms. The pit of pointless materialism and monetary dependence, and the moral void of placing profits above all else. How good people fall into the pit. You start off young, bright, and hardworking. This means you can run with a crowd of similar people. For you, jobs have never been hard to come by. The real challenge is just making sure you select the best job. Big incomes come naturally to everyone you know, and this leads to a pleasant ongoing party of a life. Sally and Joe get a mountain house so everyone can go skiing. You get the summer cottage and a boat for fishing in the summers. Bill impresses everyone with his new Audi Q7, and the rest of you reciprocate with BMWs and Acuras. Fine scotch is poured. Everybody has kids, and the best strollers, car seats, Gap clothing, lessons, and private schools are naturally part of the program. Everyone is contributing to their 401k and 529 plans, so nobody has anything to worry about, right? The only problem is that everyone has already partied themselves straight off the cliff and into the pit without realizing it. By locking in an incredibly expensive lifestyle, people who fall into this trap have become dependent on their high incomes just to stay afloat. The slightest nudge to the unstable house of cards, unemployment, divorce, illness, or even a stock or housing market crash can leave them broke and desperate. And the overly scheduled days that come with this lifestyle often leave out the slack that humans require for creativity, growth, and renewal. This leads to I don't do anything besides being great at my job syndrome, which is a recipe for long-term unemployment as soon as the next great economic upheaval leaves your particular industry obsolete. How others fall into the profit-seeking void. Some manage to avoid the pit by earning so much that they manage to handle all of the bills and still have plenty left over. But they end up lodged into a company with others to answer to who are not so lucky. A public company with shareholders, or an occupation with a boss who runs the show. Void dwellers may even be CEOs themselves, but unfortunate ones who have come to equate profit with the only point of corporate existence. People in the void usually end up worn, stressed, physically unfit, and unfulfilled. Despite leading such successful lives, they wonder why life does not feel like a complete success. So they keep seeking more profit in hopes of filling the void. Neither option sounds great, but either chasm presents ample opportunities for recovery. The key is to figure out if you've fallen into one of them or if you are just starting out to get your shit together before you make it big. Step 1. Figure out if you've made it big already. I love talking to the rising stars of Silicon Valley. With the current economic boom, they are all riding high on a raging river of business exuberance, shooting each other with optimism guns. I've jumped over to a new startup. Salary's a little better and the vibe is great, but the real story is we have a good chance of being bought. Then I'll be ready to start getting ahead. News flash, if you're under 40 and making over $75,000, you've already made it big. Use this opportunity to start using the cash surplus to build your independence now rather than spending everything like your coworkers do and hoping for an even bigger payout later. 10 years of slightly less ridiculous than average living will buy you financial independence for life. Meanwhile, your friends will still be waiting for their first big buyout 10 years from now, wanting to make it big while you have secretly been making it big all along. Step 2. Pit dwellers need to learn the power of no. The problem with the modern high-income lifestyle is the dizzying surplus of options you have available to you. You can have a luxury sedan or an SUV, a big house with a commute or a bigger house with a longer commute, a beach house or a ski house, private schools or private lessons, fine scotch or happy hour microbrews, and on forever. Most people just gleefully start checking off the boxes when presented with this menu. Doubled your salary? Great, now you can check twice as many boxes. The only problem is that you had already maximized your happiness from a material standpoint long before you even got the menu. If you have food, friends, and a comfortable place to live, you are all set to live an incredible life. Everything you buy and every experience and commitment you add to the plate beyond this point is a trade-off, a guaranteed reduction in cash and free time in exchange for a possible increase in thrills delivered by fun or novelty. As your life approaches full booking, the trade-off tilts so that the costs become higher. A busy family might be down to 1 day per week of free time, and adding a pleasant weekly trip to the ski resort might cut this to zero. Suddenly the activities you forgot to schedule, like walking in the park or sleeping in, no longer happen, and life becomes an unstoppable treadmill. Add in monetary stress and you're really screwed. The power of no means saying no to even fun-sounding activities when you realize your life is already full enough of good things. In recent years, I've had the incredible good fortune of being invited on free trips to China, Switzerland, New Zealand, and other neat places, and the chance to go speak at various schools and conferences and even show up in the odd TV show. It was my absolute pleasure to thank each of these generous people and then say no thanks, because there's already no shortage of things to do in my existing busy life. Adding even more will just take away from the things I already enjoy, like spending sunny days with my boy and getting a good night's sleep. Life is not a contest to see who can accomplish the most. It is simply a series of days where your goal is to wake up, have a great time, and go to bed even happier than when you woke up. You can still make the most of your life, but running on permanent overdrive is generally counterproductive. Step 3, rising above profit makes you the richest one of all. It is a cliche for me to bring up old Warren Buffett again, but I'm often struck by the incredible contrast between the way he views profits and the way most smaller CEOs do things. To paraphrase and exaggerate his approach, why would I give a shit about what the quarterly results are over some trivial time period like the next 20 years? We're trying to run a business here. Nobody questions his approach because he runs the damn show, and he continues to run the show because he is never subject to the fearful whims and hesitations of those stuck in the mentality of seeking short-term profit. Fortunately, it's not necessary to become the richest person in the world to learn from this example. You just need to get your financial affairs in order so that your livelihood no longer depends on the demands of irrational people. Don't like working for fickle shareholders? Run your own company and retain the voting rights for yourself. Prefer working in a large organization? Go for it, but with the knowledge that you can stick up for your principles with no regard for what it will do to your paycheck. You may find that you get fired, but more likely you will become the boss because you freed yourself from the position of being bossed around. Financial independence of any degree means just as much for people of all occupations. The free musician can delight when people share her music around the world, while the money-dependent one has to stand by and wince while her record company sues teenagers for downloading MP3s. The free lawyer can help people in need or fight for social justice, while the money-dependent one might end up cobbing together questionable cases against a blogger because that's what the paying client demands. So if you're just starting out, heed the comical troubles of your elders and do not repeat them. You can avoid both pitfalls and walk straight through to the public park on the other side, where the rest of us are just setting things up on the picnic table of badassity. See you here. All right, y'all, I really enjoyed this one because this one highlights the importance of recognizing when you're getting on that hedonic adaptation treadmill, meaning you want stuff, so you earn money to buy stuff. You want more stuff, you earn more money to buy more stuff, and you never have enough. You never feel like you are truly satisfied because you're always wanting more. And I liked this one especially because it's not just talking about things, it is also talking about the value of your time, which is the main thing that really drew me to the financial independence retire early movement. I think people in this movement really understand how valuable their time is, and that is why we want to cut ruthlessly on things in our budget that just do not provide value to us. There's really nothing more valuable that you could buy buy with your money than your own freedom if you are still stuck reliant on a job like I am to meet your living needs. The good thing is the FIRE movement teaches us the way to get off of this treadmill to save enough money and live off of a portfolio that is large enough to support your living needs, and then you are truly free to do whatever it is lights you up with your time. And if that is going to the current job that you have, great. I'm glad that you love it. You've hit the lottery if you're working a job that you're absolutely in love with. And I know people do use that as an excuse to not pursue the financial independence part of the FIRE movement. And on the surface level, it kind of makes sense, but for people who say that, I always say, what if the job changes? And Mr. Money Mustache touched on that a little bit as well. Some jobs do go away as technology improves or changes, but even if your job doesn't disappear, what if the company that you work for changes? What if your boss leaves and you get a new boss in who you don't like, who makes your life miserable? What if they change your hours? You know, all of these things that are outside of your bubble of control in your current position could happen. And that would be an excellent time to be financially independent so that you can be in the position of power like Mr. Money Mustache talked about in this article. Financial independence, retire early, is a huge goal. It takes years of dedicated effort and discipline to reach it. Everyone's post-FIRE lifestyle is different, but y'all, if I'm being 100% honest, I plan on having a pretty low-key post-FIRE lifestyle. I like the fact that Mr. Money Mustache touches on that in this article as well. Sure, I want to do some traveling long-term, that would be great, but I'm not going to travel constantly. Honestly, my day-to-day life is going to be pretty simple. I would love to just wake up, have the time to feel out whatever it is I want to do for that day, and do it without having to worry about what time do I need to get ready for work. That in and of itself just sounds like a dream to me. I think my favorite line in the whole article was, life is not a contest to see who can accomplish the most, and that is the truth. I always say that the value of my day is not measured by the number of tasks that I have completed. Guys, sometimes just breathing is the only goal that I have accomplished from one day to the next, and that is okay. That's enough for that day. So let me know what you thought of this one down in the comments section below. If you're pursuing financial independence, retire early, let me know what your post-FIRE lifestyle is going to be like in the comments section below. Have you given it any thought? Or are you like me where you've thought about it a little bit, but you're not exactly sure what it's going to look like because you just desperately need some decompression time first before you can even begin to imagine what being financially independent would look like for you? Let me know down in the comments section below. I'll see y'all next Monday for the next episode of the Monday Mr. Money Mustache Motivation. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.